So we are ready now to start mixing colors together. I just wanted to point out again that even if there is a point of contact between these squares, if there is no point of contact between the squares of the same color, we should do each square individually. So let's now go to a shape that looks like the ones we were doing, but has two colors now. We start looking at one color, so let's for instance start with the green. And again, we have to think at a spot where we'll have a chance to trap the thread we start with and trap the fabric we end up with. So I will start here where I'm pointing right now. So I have these 3 small points to trap the end, and I have the sequence of 3 points in a row to trap the starting thread. So just leave enough space to do it, to do the bottom of it, and I start up there on the top of the pattern of the scheme with that row of 3 points, and then I end up at the point of contact of that one single stitch. I do that stitch, and as always I am perfectly back at the spot where I left the row. I finish that row completely, and I am now in position to do those 3 single stitches. I just have to pay attention that I have to do half of it, and then I cannot come back to finish it. I have to move down to the next row to do half of the next stitch. So I'll basically do the half of each one of those 3 stitches before I come back and finish one by one. When I'm done, I don't want to hide the thread on that row because the starting thread's already there. So just go behind those single stitches. 1 stitch is not enough, so I'll try to go over more than 1. If you pay attention, the fabric has these threads that you can hide behind. You just have to pay attention in each square you are, whether you have to go through horizontally or vertically to be able to hide the thread behind the fabric threads. So here I go horizontally, and the fabric itself helps hiding the thread, not only my stitch. So now I'm ready to go with the other color. If I start here on the right, I will have no point of contact with another row, and I would have to hide the thread of beginning and end on the same row. So instead, I start here on the left, so I can finish in contact with the second row. So I'll hide the thread on the first row, but when I'm done with the first row, I'll be in contact with the second row where I could hide any thread when I'm done. This will make sense in a little bit. So I did the first row, the thread is hidden there, and here's where I am on my scheme. I have 1 point to do to the left and 2 to the right, and I have several points of contact with the next row, so I can choose when I want to go down and start the third row. So for instance, I could go right here, but there are other points of contact, so if I want, I can keep going. I could for instance go here, but I always want to leave all the stitches on a row at least half done, so when I come back I know where to go. So I did this half stitch, and then I went down to the third row just to show you how I could actually finish this row before going to the third row and not miss the point of contact. And then when I'm on the third row, I can choose whether I go to the right or the left and come back. And then here, just to show you another way I could have done it, before finishing the row, I will already go to the next row, work to the left, now to the right, and always finish on the exact same spot, so I can now finish the row I left undone. And now I can choose to go with the needle down or up, depending on which row I want to finish to hide my thread. I went up, and I can hide the thread on the second row, avoiding hiding it on the same row I started. And it's done. This is a more complicated shape because I don't know where I would hide the thread that I started with, because there's no point where I have at least a sequence of 2 stitches to hide the beginning thread. So however I start, I will have to leave the thread hanging and try to hide it when I have enough stitches done that I can hide it. So just choose any place on my pattern to start. I chose the very middle of it. And because 1 stitch is not enough to hide the thread, I'll just leave all this piece of thread hanging there and do half of my stitch on the middle. And here I just have to be very attentive, because each stitch only have 1 point of contact, that I don't lose those point of contacts before going on. So I'm doing the right bottom leg here before I miss that point of contact. And now here, instead of going down, I'm going up, not to miss that point of contact, to the upper left leg. And now I can go as if I was only now finishing the middle and doing the bottom left leg. I got distracted here, went up, no problem. I just retrace my steps. And now I'm done with this leg. I now notice that I lost the point of contact to the top right leg. So I will just do once more half of this stitch. It's not ideally, but it's better than starting all over again, especially since these legs are so thin and hard to lose a thread if I started again. Hard to hide a thread if I started again. So it doesn't look bad. You can barely notice that I went through that part of the X twice. So I just did that to reach that point of contact again. And now I finished. So I can use 2 stitches now, one at a time, to hide that thread. And now I have to, now that I have enough stitches done to hide that beginning thread, I got an empty needle. Because the thread's so small, I put the needle first and then I try to thread the needle. So first I put the needle through 1 stitch where I want to hide the thread, and then I threaded it. And now I'm gonna do the same thing again. Put the needle under the stitch first and then thread the needle and pull to hide the thread. So everything is hidden. If it seems like some thread is showing, it's okay. When I put the other color, it will hide that. So I start now with the other color. I can start anywhere I want. I chose to start here on the right top. And the reason I'm starting from bottom to top with the needle instead of from top to bottom is because I want to start exactly at the point of contact with another sequence of the pink color on the right. So I could finish this row. I could have gone down, but I will finish because I know there are other points of contact, like this one. So now I do choose to go ahead and do this left part. And even though I have to do 1 stitch on this middle row to reach the bottom, I don't finish the middle row because I don't want just yet to be back at the point of contact right there. I can go back to where I started, or since it's a point of contact with the bottom, I can also go to the bottom. I choose the letter. And I do the whole bottom before coming back to the exact point where I was. here. As I come back, I just skip that point that was completed, and I'm back exactly where I left the top area. I'm at a point of contact with the right, but I know there are other ones, so not to lose track of what I'm doing and keep skipping too much, I decided to finish the top, and now I am at the right. So when there are several points of contact, you can choose when you go to a new area. Just don't keep skipping too much so you don't lose track of what you're doing. You can see the pink even hides some of that loose thread from the green one. And I'm done. I don't go with the needle up because I don't want to hide the end thread where I began. And where I am, I just choose a stretch of at least 2 points of the exact color pink that I'm trying to hide it, and I am done. And if we look at the back, it's perfect for both colors. And we're done with everything that I wanted to teach you about the technique. The challenge now is to follow a scheme color by color. And if you want to learn that, stay tuned or subscribe, and next I'll post videos of how I did this frame for a baby from the very beginning to the end. So after practicing the technique a little bit, you can watch those videos and now see how we can follow a scheme and complete a whole pattern. I'll see you in the next videos.